everyone. So the Summer I Turned Pretty officially ended. The last episode of this series aired, and I wanted to do a review of season 3. Now, there are a couple of reasons as to why I wanted to give a full review of this season, but the number one reason being that my credentials myself just make me want to be making these videos. So I went to school for digital media, I minored in film, and I also did my senior capstone in script writing, screenwriting and script writing, you know, whether it be TV shows, movies. That type of creative writing is so near and dear to my heart, and this is another reason why I love analyzing movies and TV shows. And if you've never seen my face before, hi, my name is Stella, and that's what I do on here. I analyze all things media, that being books, TV shows, movies, and I also post the occasional lifestyle and beauty content. So if that is your jam, it would mean the world to me if you gave me a follow, subscribe wherever you're watching this on, and you join my community. I'm really trying to build a awesome space here. The Summer I Turned Pretty is a show that I love and became obsessed with pretty much right at the start of the show back in 2022, I think it was. And just knowing how far I'm sure everyone who has watched the show has come, right from when we first watched the first episode to now. The show just means so much to me, and I genuinely felt like season 3 was one of the best pieces of young adult to adult television in the romance genre that I have seen in a long time. I don't say that lightly. I mean that to be completely 100% serious. I think that Jenny Han and everyone involved in the show is amazing. I think that Jenny Han's writing of the novels set up for this amazing show. So in this review video, we will be going over a couple of things. I will give you my rating for this season. We're also going to talk about the plot, things that I liked, also critiques, and then we're also going to talk about fan perception and the response, you know, that was kind of happening every week. And then we'll talk about what's next for the show. Also, just so you guys know, if you aren't done with this season yet and you would like to see episodic breakdowns of each of the episodes, I have that on my YouTube page or my TikTok, which everything will be on the video that you're watching, okay? Overall, out of 5, I would rate season 3 of The Summer I Turned Pretty a 4.5 out of 5. I felt like this season was incredibly strong for so many reasons that I'll get into, but it's not nearly flawless because I did have some critiques, which honestly, my critiques are more about the television industry in general, which I'll get into later. But yes, that is what I would overall rate it. So let's get into the plot first. You know, what I liked about the plot, my favorite moments, all those things. I felt like this season of The Summer I Turned Pretty was incredibly sophisticated and honestly better than the first 2 seasons. I do love the first season a lot. The second season, I am not the biggest fan of, just because there is so much turmoil, especially for the Team Conrad girlies. Out of the 3, this one was the strongest. I don't know if it's also that because I'm finally kind of near the age group of them. I started watching the show when I was 22, back in 2022, and now I'm 25. I also felt like the plot lines in this show really effectively conveyed the transition between, you know, childhood and adulthood, especially when you're already adult. When you're 18, sure, you're maybe considered an adult, but you're not an adult. I can look back at my 18-year-old self and I am a completely different person than my 18-year-old self. I was completely different at 18, I was completely different at 20, I was completely different at 22, and I'm completely different at 25. And I think that's something that's so special about this show. It has forced me to reflect on my own life and think about what I would do in these situations. And I'm sure you could say that about every television show, right? Or every movie. This season especially has really caused me to reflect on myself and like what I want in the future, if that makes any sense. I don't know if any of you felt that way. I would love to know if any of you felt that way. Now, specific plot points. So Belly and Jeremiah's horrible, god-awful engagement.
Need the 2-tier mirror glaze?
Slight change of plans.
I say that jokingly, but although frustrating, was an extremely like amazing piece of writing. Not only is the drama there, right? I mean, it's obvious that the drama between the two brothers and the love triangle is a huge driving force of the story. However, I think if anything, the relationship between Jeremiah and Belly, how they got married or wanted to get married extremely quickly, I think that this showed a lot more about Belly and her development and her character and who she is and coming into herself as a young woman. I think it showed that more than honestly anything about Jeremiah, anything about their relationship. Throughout season 1 and 2, I feel like we never fully understand the magnitude of Belly's grief when it comes to losing Susanna. Even though she's the main character, weirdly, I feel like there is a disconnect of what we see and how she grieves, because a lot of what we see as her pain is also fresh off of her breakup with Conrad. So I feel like in her mind, these two things are so interlinked that she can't really separate them. And I think that in season 2, we see Jeremiah, even though this is literally because of his own design, like this is why he irritates me so much. This is his doing. Again, they're children. They're not going to be able to conceptualize their feelings maybe 100% correctly, but this is of Jeremiah's doing. And what I mean by that is that he broke down and he's like, when I needed you, you weren't there. That whole scene in season 2. And I felt like that this was the start of the toxicity between the two of them, because ultimately it is not Belly's job to be there for him. Again, I could go off about that. I am planning on making maybe some scene breakdowns of this show in the future, so maybe that's one of them that I'll include or dive into more, but I genuinely feel like that is the start of their downfall. Even her body language in season 3 shows how she is almost becoming like a mother figure to him. She is the big spoon. She is withholding information so he doesn't get more upset. She's coddling him in a way, right? He makes all these mistakes. He misses a class and has to take a whole nother semester. And obviously, as his girlfriend, she would support him, and I don't think it would be fair of her to like bully him basically over these things. But I really saw their relationship as Jeremiah being the baby and Belly like being the adult or trying to. And then obviously we find out later that their relationship was attached to their grief. And she even says in the scene where they break up, right, that I don't know where you end and I begin, and we put ourselves back together after Susanna died. And it just shows that when trauma goes unresolved, when you don't make attempts to heal, how badly things can fester and change you in your life, and it can affect your relationships. I mean, in the end, before Paris, Belly started lashing out at Taylor when Taylor was trying to show her her honest feelings. All of this is to say that the show, in my opinion, did a brilliant job at showing how no girl at this age, at this time, during such a crucial transition period in your life is going to be perfect, and how you can be very blind to how toxic a situation is until you're out of it. Now, moving on to the plot point of like Belly discovering herself. So many people are like, I am team Belly, right? Like, oh, Belly's gonna choose herself. I think Belly did choose herself. Even though she ended up with Conrad, Belly had a major awakening. She realized that she needed to figure out who she was outside of the relationship with the boys, outside of even Susanna's like image of her. There are many things that she needed to explore, and I loved that they showed so many flashbacks because the contrast of herself as a child, right, saying I don't want to go anywhere, I want to stay right here. The life lesson that really made me reflect, right, is I tend to get in that comfortability stage, right? And I think Belly is there, like, or was there at least. And probably will still be there, and will need to fight through that feeling a lot as she develops and gets older. But oftentimes when you're comfortable, and you don't want to change anything about your situation out of fear of hurting yourself, hurting someone else, blowing things up, making things more stressful and anxious. And she does not want to go through another traumatic period like Susanna dying. Like, that trauma was so intense for her that I feel like she didn't want a repeat of that. She even said that to like Taylor when she revealed that they were going to be getting married. So all the signs were there. Now let's talk about her relationship with Conrad. So in my personal opinion, I think the story has always been Belly and Conrad's story. I think, unfortunately, again, no hate to Jer, but I feel like that is a plot device that is used to further the relationship between these two characters. And I think that we got to see Belly grow. Conrad was already grown. And I appreciated that because I think the story is, like I said, about Belly and Conrad, but it is about Belly. And so I really appreciated that Conrad, they showed a healthy, maturing boy. They showed a healthy, maturing boy blossom into a man, basically. He was in therapy. He was actually communicating. When he realized that he did wrong, he apologized, which those are things that he kind of already did do in previous seasons. He's always apologizing for his actions. And I think that people can't see that enough. That's a whole nother topic. His character almost in this season really served this purpose of getting Belly to not only come back to herself, but evolve into the woman that she has probably never even thought she could be. And that last episode was, in my opinion, the best episode of the whole entire series. I loved that. It felt like a movie, which I think is great because they are making a movie. Unless you live under a rock, I feel like everyone has seen that they are making a Summer I Turned Pretty movie. And I felt like that last episode, it felt like a different show. It felt like the evolved, sophisticated version of the Summer I Turned Pretty. I also love that the show showed extremely hard conversations that are probably realistic for a lot of people. The one that comes to mind is the scene after Belly and Conrad, are intimate, and they kind of get into not really a fight, but they have a discussion, and Belly really breaks down and tells him her insecurities, and she needs that reassurance. There is so much leading up to that moment that she needed to hear him reassure her again, even though this is probably the fifth time he's asserted himself. He told her he loved her on the beach. He told her again the next day. He said it again in that same conversation. He said it when he left her. He said it again when he came to Paris to visit her. But she feels like it could be ripped away at any second. And also, what is this based on? And that is all coming from her trauma. That is coming from her grief. That's coming from the fact that she probably never really appropriately grieved or got help for the grief. She never processed Susanna's death fully, I don't think. And it was just scenes like that made the show immediately click, stand out for me. The season being better than the other ones, just perfect. I loved those aspects of it. And also for this reason, to kind of wrap up the plot section of my review here, this show is so much different, in a good way, than any teen shows I've seen. Now, and especially ones today. But I do want to say that there is something that feels just slightly more elevated about The Summer I Turned Pretty. Literally from the way it looks, the cinematography, I think, is stunning in this show, but it's really the writing. And this is where I kind of geek out, because Jenny Han, I think her novels, I think every work she's done, even To All the Boys, I've loved before. There is something about her work that is so special. I did end up listening to the audiobook of this last Summer I Turned Pretty book. I really want to listen to the others, but through that, I've gotten like a taste of her writing. And I feel like Jenny Han's writing is a masterclass in relationship dynamics and complex characters. If the White Lotus, Mike White, who does the White Lotus, if he is the masterclass of complex character study, this woman is the masterclass on relationships. And I know that that might be a hot take, that maybe I am looking at her like some god, but I take inspiration from her writing. She is an example to follow. Because if you genuinely get deep with this show, if you watch it through a critical lens, underneath all the, cutesy, maybe sometimes cringe moments, it is so deep, which is why I think audiences absolutely are smitten by this show. And then I know I briefly just touched on this, but the lessons are incredible. I know that this might seem kind of random and out of place to everything I was just saying, but like the intimate scene, there is something that is so special about that, because as a woman, seeing the dating world, honestly, how abysmal the dating world is right now, seeing genuine love, genuine connection, genuine consent, and like enthusiastic consent portrayed on screen is something so powerful and hotter than any sex scene that probably men would come up with. Like, I just feel like everything in this show is through the female gaze. Like, Conrad is obviously written by a woman, so of course he is gonna be the female gaze, like, ideal man, but there is something that is so special about seeing a woman's real desires portrayed. Does that make any sense? I'm curious if you guys had the same feeling about that. Okay, moving on now. Critiques. So I really don't have that many critiques, but the one reason why I feel like it was bumped half a star or whatever from me personally is that I feel like this is another show, which again, this is not exclusive to The Summer I Turned Pretty, but this is another show that could have benefited from a longer run, like more episodes, basically is what I'm saying. I wish it had more episodes. I know that this will probably be a hot take, because I know the Conrad fans were like fiending to like see him on screen again and see those two get together, but I could have done like 5 friggin' episodes of Belly in Paris. That whole segment of the show was incredible. Her new friends jumped off the screen. They felt so realistic. I love that she was exploring her relationships. I just loved that whole situation. And so I felt like the show really could have benefited from more episodes, just fleshing out those minor things at the end. I don't feel like it was rushed, because I understood it, but there were a lot of people, which we'll get into in a second about the fan perception, there were a lot of people that seemed to like lack media literacy and not get it. So maybe we could have used a little bit more pull from that whole arc, which I would love to hear your guys' thoughts on that if you agree with that. But yeah, that's my hot take, and that is really the only reason why I would dock it half a star. Other than that, I thought it was amazing. Now, talking about fan perception. So a lot of fans now are like, oh, it's amazing. But while the show was running, something that was really bothering me, well, number one, people were sending hate to Jenny Han, which I'm like, you all need to get a life. Do you not have a job? Like, I'm confused. But beyond that, the level, again, of like lacking media literacy was crazy to me. Like, people were so confused why Belly kind of told Conrad off after he confessed his love. People were confused why Belly did the thing after they had their intimate moment. Like, why she was like, kind of being rude, quote unquote, rude to him. They were also saying that Belly was the villain. Something that really irritates me, this just irritates me in every single piece of media I watch where a woman is the main character. They are demonized more than any other male ever, okay? Carrie Bradshaw is not a scum of the earth human, and she should not be, on the same level as like a Tony Soprano or something like that. Do you know what I'm saying? Or like Skylar White is not as bad as friggin' Walter White, the protagonist that everyone seems to, suck his hoo-ha, and like it's fine. Males are so forgiven in media, and if a woman dares to do something that's crazy, wrong, bad, which doesn't mean we can't call the character out for it, does not mean we can't say that, like, hey, that was bad. Did Belly irritate me a lot this season? Yes. But I never once thought she was the villain. If you think that all of the problems that happened in their relationship was solely because of her, you have lost the plot. That is something that I was really frustrated about, honestly, in like Jeremiah's character, because I felt like he blamed it all on her. So to see Conrad in that last episode tell her, you're not the villain, we all made a mess of this, and for a large portion of it, we were children. He ate with that one. I swear to you, like, that is like my pet peeve. I am so mad that people are acting like Belly is like the Antichrist. I feel like if you think that, you don't understand the show. If you're a woman, maybe you need to look at some of your own internalized misogyny, like genuinely. Jer, Conrad, Taylor, Steven, they're all just as bad as her if you're going off of that. So that's kind of my irritation with the fan perception, and it kind of, honestly, week to week, it did ruin my experience a little bit, just a little bit. Okay, and then now my last little segment of the review. What is next for the Summer I Turn Pretty? So like I said, they have a movie coming out, and I really feel like this is going to be a great opportunity to explore those kind of open-ended questions, right? So the parents were kind of left unsettled, and if the conflicts were anything like the ones in the last episode, specifically with the like side cast, right, with Jeremiah, Denise, Taylor, Steven, like, I loved those little things. Those were very, very funny, but they were also had enlightening parts of them at the same time. It was just really cute, and I also think it would be wonderful to see Belly and Conrad in a loving, happy relationship. I think it would be great to maybe show that all relationships are not perfect too. Like, maybe they have their disagreements. Maybe there is a level of insecurity that creeps up for her sometimes, and we can see them talk it out. We can see them make it through it. I don't know. I also want to see them thriving in their careers. Like, I would love career problems and things like that, because I think that that, again, is really realistic and like about navigating relationships into adulthood, and that you guys have serious things occurring. If you guys have a specific plot idea, let me know below. I would love to hear your thoughts on that. What do you think the movie's gonna be about? When do you think we're gonna get it? I'm hoping it's this year, and I'm hoping they're lying to us, okay? I know Jenny Han was like, not next year. I hope it's this year, girl. But yes, that is it for me. A long one. I had a lot to say. If you resonated or wanted to expand off of anything I said in this video, please leave a comment below. I know I keep saying that, but I genuinely love engaging with people who love the same things that I do. And I've had so many fruitful conversations in my comment section. So even if you're the only one, I want to hear your thoughts. I want to hear what you think. We can kiki and analyze together. And also let me know what you would rate this season. Would you rate it perfectly? Would you rate it in between? Would you rate it lower than I did? And why? Also, just for some last little notes, I plan on doing a lot more videos, honestly, on The Summer I Turn Pretty, especially if the movie's gonna come out, whatever it may be. I also want to do some like scene breakdowns, as I said before. So again, if that's your jam, if you love this show and you love all things media, I watch a plethora of shows, okay, and movies, things that probably don't even align with The Summer I Turn Pretty, okay? I'm like a Last of Us fan, I play video games, like I am in it all. So if that is your vibe, again, I would love to have you in my community. It would mean so much if you gave me a follow or subscribed. All of my socials of where you can find me for bite-sized content, everything like that will be in the description. And if you made it this far and genuinely like listening to me yap, I can't thank you enough. So thank you so much for watching, guys, and see you next time. Bye.